Hey there, audio friends, MrAyrit here. Welcome back. Today we're talking about what I hoped would be the go-to, entry-level desktop DAC amp. This is the Fiio K11. This is an R2R based DAC amp from Fiio. Comes in at $130. Seems like it should be a pretty good option for people that are looking to upgrade from something like a little dongle like the Moondrop Dawn Pro, or just coming from like onboard audio. So let's dig into this thing. Let's see what it looks like, the features it has, and then we can talk about how it sounds and how I think it fits into the market and whether it is that entry-level bang for your buck item. Okay, so this one's the silver version. This was sent to me by Apos, by the way. FYI, there'll be an affiliate link down below, but outside of that, I'm not getting paid and they're not asking me to say anything specific. Just get that out of the way. All right, so silver, it comes in black too. Couple of specs real fast on this. 1.4 watts, I believe that's at 32 ohms. It might be 16 ohms, but that's at the lower end. But then even at 300 ohms, it does put out 250 milliwatts. So it is a reasonably powerful device for how small it is. I've got the JDS Labs Atom 2 stack right here, so you could see kind of the comparison in size, and actually it is about exactly the same size, a little more rounded corners on the Fiio product than on the JDS Labs stuff. And up until this point, I do feel like something like the JDS Labs Atom stack is kind of that entry level, desktop setup. But if the Fiio can sound as good or better than that at a fraction of the price, because it's only $130 and it's got your DAC in amp in here, then I think that'd be a big win for Fiio. Thinking about the form factor here, I haven't got my M4 Mac Mini yet. I have an M1 Mac Mini that I use, so I'm planning on upgrading at some point, but I almost bet this would be like exactly the same size as that, and it would look really close to it. You might even be able to stack them or something, but fortunately, don't have my M4 Mini yet, but maybe in the future we'll be able to try that out. Anywho, what does this thing come with? Well, you've got on the front here, you've got a multi-function knob. Pretty basic there, but it feels okay. It's got some nice texture on it. You got a 1/4 inch and a 4.4, I think. Let me double check that actually. Yeah, sorry. I've mainly been using the 1/4 inch, but yes, it is 4.4. It's just a basic display there that shows you, volume and things like that. I'll cut to a little picture of what that looks like. Now on top here, this Fiio logo is actually RGB, so you can set it up so it displays, different colors based on what codec you're listening to and things like that, or you can just change it, or you can just turn it off altogether, which is mainly how I used it, but I appreciate that you can have that flexibility with it. Footing, it's got a nice little pad on it. It is lightweight though, so it is gonna move around on you if you're putting headphones in and out and things like that. Just kind of the reality of having one of these small little desktop things. It's pretty lightweight. Around the back, power in, USB in, optical in, coax in, line outs for RCAs, so you can run something like some powered monitors, or maybe a little tube amp or something if you wanted to do that coming out of it. So pretty much basic functionality here for something that's targeted at this market, an entry-level DAC amp desktop setup. As far as use goes, when I was using it, I didn't really run into much that I would consider like a hiccup. I thought it functioned as it should. I never had any weird quirks or anything. It works like it should work, which is good news for any device like this. Now, let's talk about sound. So I have to, just to give you a little bit of context here first, I mainly was listening to Hi-Fi Man stuff while I had the Fiio. So I've got the Aria Unveiled that I'm listening to, HE1000, SE, Aria Organic, so things like that. Those were the types of headphones that I was listening with. Now, mainly I was going back and forth between the Fiio here and my Element 3 DAC amp, which is JDS Labs, kind of second tier as far as their DAC amps go. It's a step up above the Atom stuff, but it's their all-in-one unit, and that's the Element 3. They did just release an Element 4, which sounds like it's pretty awesome, but I haven't got my hands on one yet. Hopefully here sometime in the new year. So that was mainly my testing. And in that comparison, going back and forth between the K11 and the Element 3, I can't say that there was ever really a time that I preferred the Fiio. I always thought that the Element 3 was just like a little bit cleaner, a little bit more controlled, a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more detailed, you know, just a little bit kind of better in every aspect. But you know, that's not really much of a surprise. I mean, the Element 3 when it came out was maybe like $400-ish. I bought mine on the used market for maybe like $250 or something like that. So it's still substantially more money than the K11 here. So you wouldn't really expect the K11 to like outperform it. And also the Element 3 just kind of is my preference. Like that's kind of my daily driver. That's just what I landed on here after trying like a whole bunch of stuff as far as like, I think it's a really good bang for your buck as far as it sounds better than most entry-level stuff, and really close to like really expensive stuff while all being, you know, a great little form factor and having plenty of power and things like that. So either way, let's not get too hung up on that, right? You wouldn't expect something for 130 bucks to beat an Element 3 or an Element 4 or anything in like the $400 to $500 range, right? That would be awesome if it did, but not the case, okay? Now, so having that kind of settled, I decided to bring the Atom stack out to check that to see, because I was like, if it compares favorably to the Atom stack, then that's still a big win for this little Fiio. And I would say that actually when I was doing my testing, going back and forth between the K11 and the Atom stack, I did actually prefer the Fiio K11. So I think when we're talking about why that would be, I thought the Fiio sounded a little more spacious, a little more natural, right? Maybe that R2R coming in to play a little bit. And I just thought it felt a little more alive than the Atom. The Atom is like a great kind of just neutral, plays your music, doesn't really do anything, you know, terribly wrong, but it also doesn't quite breathe like the life into the music that I tend to enjoy. And so I did think that while it's not as clean sounding as the Element 3 or as detailed and you know, it doesn't have the nuance of the Element 3, I do think that when you're talking about comparing this to something like the Atom stack or a shit stack or something like that, I think this is going to be very comparable in sound quality. And I think at that point, it's really gonna come down to preference and to what you prefer and what headphones you're pairing it with. And so I guess what I'm saying is I do think that this is a very good place to start looking if you're looking to get your first desktop DAC amp. I think this is worth a look. I think, you know, like I said, I didn't test it with a huge variety of headphones, but I do think that like depending on your headphones, you know, this is going to get you a lot of the way there as something more expensive would, and it's certainly going to get you playing, and it's going to play with almost everything really nicely. So I can definitely put this on my recommendation list. I think it's a good looking unit. It has decent functionality. It sounds pretty darn good. I think for 130 bucks, this is probably my pick for like a desktop unit. I think, you know, if anything, it's just going to come down to your personal preference of preferring something else like a shit stack or an Atom stack or you know, any of the other numerous DAC amps that are out there for under $200. But I think the Fiio is definitely worth a look. I always think, you know, for things like this, especially if you're struggling to decide between a couple, you know, order a couple of different things from places that have really good return policies like Amazon or Apos or whatever. And then you can try two of them out. You can go back and forth a little bit. You can see which one you prefer with your gear, with your headphones, and then you can send back the one that you don't like as much. And that way you're not left wondering like, oh, did I make a mistake, or, you know, yada, yada, yada. It's so easy to fall into those traps, especially, you know, in this audiophile game where everybody, you know, is saying this is the greatest, or this is the greatest, or this is the greatest. It's always better just to get your hands on a couple of different things, hear them with your own ears, and then make your decision, as opposed to, you know, taking someone else's word for the gospel, right? At least that's my opinion anyway. So Fiio's definitely worth a look in my book. I think they did a great job. I think it's a good looking unit. I think it looked good on a lot of people's desks, and I think it'll meet a lot of people's needs. So nice job to Fiio. Thank you to Apos for sending this out. Thank you to you for watching and listening. Certainly if you have any experience with this product, drop that down below in the comments. I always like people to give their input. The more voices and opinions that people can hear, the better, more informed decision that people can make when it comes to purchasing, some of their audio gear. And with that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and close this one out. Happy New Year to you. Hopefully we'll see you more in this new year. Appreciate you. See you next time.